What if I told you that the most powerful move you made was the one you didn't make? She expected the chase, the desperate texts, the last-minute calls. She was waiting, not for closure, but for confirmation that you still needed her, more than your self-respect. But something unexpected happened when you chose silence and didn't follow her into the storm. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt a void, and that void wasn't your absence. It was the absence of control. You see, in the subconscious mind, the chase is validation. When you don't give it, the ego begins to unravel. She's not wondering where you went, why you didn't come running. This isn't about winning games. It's about showing that you're no longer willing to lose yourself just to be chosen. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you stop being predictable, and that's when you become unforgettable. If you're ready to stop begging for love and start embodying it, hit like, subscribe, and comment below, "I am the calm she didn't expect." Let's go deeper. Number 1. The day your old self died. Right now. It feels like the ground is gone. The texts have stopped. Her eyes, once full of warmth, are now just a memory. And there you are, trying to stitch together the moment everything cracked. The breakup, the rejection, the echo of "I need space." It's not just her absence, your mourning. It's the collapse of who you thought you were with her. But here's the truth. No one tells you this collapse. It's necessary. What hurts isn't just the loss of a person. It's the crumbling of your identity, built around being wanted, around being chosen, around her approval. Shapes your self-worth. That version of you who needed to be seen, validated, and needed is gone. And thank God for that. From a Stoic lens, this is the fire you walk through to find your shape. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what stands in the way becomes the way. This pain isn't a detour, it's the beginning. The wreckage you're sitting in, that's the old temple falling, so the real one can be built. The one that doesn't shake every time someone leaves. You don't beg, you don't explain, you don't contort your soul into something smaller just to fit her comfort. You let the silence be what it is, a funeral for a false version of you. The one who thought his value was defined by how closely he fit her expectations. The action here is brutal and sacred. Let it fall, all of it. Don't rescue what broke you. Don't run back to her arms, trying to rebuild what was never real. Instead, grieve. Stand in the middle of the emotional earthquake and refuse to flinch. Let every illusion burn, because when the smoke clears, what remains is real, unshakable yours. And that strength, it scares people, not because it's loud, but because it no longer needs permission to exist. You stop being the man who needed her to choose him. You become the man who chose himself in the wreckage. That's what healing looks like. Not pretty, not poetic, but honest. If you've ever let a version of yourself die, so something stronger could rise, say it now. She didn't break me. She broke who I wasn't meant to be. Number 2. The fire you must sit in. You wake up and your chest feels heavy, not from the world's weight, but from the weight of her, the memory of her, the ghost of every word, every smile, every goodbye you weren't ready for. Your mind spins. Did she ever really care? What if I had said more, done less, fought harder? You scroll through old photos. You check her status. You replay every moment like it's the only proof you were ever loved. This is the storm. the inner chaos no one sees. And for many men, this is where the collapse turns into collapse again, not by the breakup, but by how they react to it. They spiral, they post, they lash out, they drink, they text, they beg. Not because they're weak, but because no one taught them how to feel without falling apart. But a stoic man knows emotions aren't the enemy, activity is. Seneca wrote, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." You don't conquer pain by avoiding it. You conquer it by sitting in it fully. By refusing to let it dictate your actions, no matter how loud it screams. That pit in your stomach, it's not there to destroy you. It's there to teach you restraint. Imagine your emotions like fire. Most men try to put it out. The stoic man, he sits in it, not to burn, but to forge. Because pain, if allowed, becomes purification. Every time you resist the urge to text her, stalk her, speak out of bitterness, you claim a little more of yourself back. Here's your action. Stop reaching. Stop reacting. Sit in the discomfort like it's sacred because it is. Let the sadness swell, let the rage rise, and then let them pass. Without acting on a single one, you are not the emotion, you are the observer, and that shift, that's where your power is born. Psychologically, this is the reset. Most never reach. While others break under their heartbreak, you grow into it. You don't numb it. You feel it fully, and yet you stay still. And in that stillness, something rare happens. Your self-control becomes strength. Others feel without you saying a word. Because while she may have left, your discipline did not. If you've ever stared down your emotional storm without letting it define you, write this below. I sat in the fire and found myself in the flames. Number 3. When disappearing isn't retreat, it's reinvention. You stop calling, you stop checking, you delete the chat, not out of hate, but out of honor. Not for her, for yourself. Because you've realized something. Staying in contact isn't connection, it's captivity. How are you is a chain. Every scroll through her photos is self-inflicted suffering, so you vanish, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. This isn't the silence of manipulation. This is the silence of a man returning to himself. Your absence becomes magnetic in a world where everyone is screaming to be seen. Mysterious. Her mind wanders not because you're playing games, but because you stopped being one. And that shift, it's psychological warfare without lifting a finger. She expects the message, the explanation, the long goodbye, but instead, there's a void, and the human mind cannot tolerate a void without trying to fill it. Carl Jung called it the power of the shadow. That which retreats into darkness becomes more powerful than anything that stays in the light. You're not running. You're reorganizing. You're not proving your worth. You're reclaiming it from someone who couldn't see it when it was offered freely. This is the moment you stop making her your mirror. You stop measuring your peace by her perception. Stop leaking energy into someone else's story and start writing your own. The action is simple but rare. Disappear completely. No half steps. No watching from a distance. No leaving the door open just in case. You don't owe her your healing process. You don't owe her closure if she didn't offer clarity. And what happens next is what Stoicism teaches best. You become untouchable. Marcus Aurelius said, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Your silence becomes your sanctuary. It gives you space to breathe, to build, to become." Psychologically, Your absence creates the loudest presence, not because you wanted her to chase, but because your detachment exposed the truth. She was drawn to your attention, not your essence. And now that the attention is gone, she's forced to reckon with what she missed. You're not ghosting, you're growing quietly, ruthlessly, authentically, and in time, your absence will say what your words never could. I'm not the same man you left. I'm the man I should have been before I met you. If you've ever stepped into silence not as escape but as evolution, say this now. I didn't vanish to be missed. I vanished to rebuild. Number 4. When the mirror shows you what you tried to avoid. You're alone now. Truly alone. No texts to check, no memories left to rewrite. Just the quiet truth of where you are and who you've become. And in that silence, something stirs a realization. Maybe it wasn't just her. Maybe part of the pain was your own doing your patterns. Blind spots and refusal to see the cracks until the structure crumbled. This is the part most men avoid. It's easier to blame her, to talk about how she changed, how she gave up. But real growth begins when you stop pointing outward and start looking inward. The Stoics never promised peace without discomfort. In fact, they embraced the discomfort as the doorway to mastery. Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. That doesn't mean blame yourself. It means own what's yours. Own the times you ignored red flags, the times you stayed when you should have walked, the times you hoped love would change what self-respect should have ended. This is the mirror stage, and it's brutal because it doesn't lie, it doesn't flatter. It shows you the man who wanted to be chosen more than he wanted to choose wisely, and that's the wound you've got to clean if you ever want to heal. But here's the beauty of it. Once you face the truth without flinching, you become unstoppable. No more victim mindset. No more asking, why did this happen to me? You start asking, what did this reveal about me? You begin to see your role, not with shame, but with resolve. You begin to understand that the pain wasn't punishment, but education. Every unanswered text, every cold shoulder, every false hope was a lesson carved in silence. And now comes the shift. You stop replaying the past. You start refining yourself. Not to win her back, but to make sure the next version of you doesn't betray the man you're becoming. You tighten your standards. You realign with your values. You stop settling for love that only feels like survival. The Action Journal. Your truth list what you overlooked, what you tolerated, what you gave up. Then burn it. Let it be a funeral for the version of you that let it slide, and from the ashes, write a code, a new code, for who you are and who you'll never be again. If you've ever looked yourself in the eye and chose truth over comfort, write this. Now I didn't blame her. I rebuilt from me. Number 5. When pain turns into the coldest kind of power. You've cried enough, broken enough, questioned yourself in circles until your mind bled dry. And then something shifted, not suddenly, but quietly. You woke up and the pain was still there, but it stopped controlling you. It had hardened into something else. Not bitterness, not numbness, just resolve. This is what the Stoics called the fire within, the transformation of raw emotion into sharpened will. You stopped needing her to explain, stopped checking if she noticed, stopped rehearsing the past in your head like it still held the key to your peace. The heartbreak didn't disappear, but it became useful. It became fuel. You hit the gym with a kind of focus that wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding. You stopped talking about your pain and started letting your routine speak. You weren't showing off. You weren't posting quotes and pretending you didn't care. You were just working. Quietly, ruthlessly alone. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." That adversity, you lived it, and instead of letting it own you, you made it your origin story. You let the flame burn away the weak parts of you, the version that begged for closure, that needed to be chosen. That thought validation was love. Now you act not for applause, but because it's who you are becoming. You start reading more, training harder, sleeping better, making decisions without looking over your shoulder. You don't need anyone to notice, because the point isn't to be seen, it's to be unshakable. The cold flame inside you doesn't flicker. It glows with discipline, precision, and direction. The psychological shift is massive. You become intimidating without trying, magnetic without reaching. And if she ever looks back, she won't see a man waiting. She'll see a silhouette walking away, carrying silence like a sword. The action is clear. Turn your pain into practice. No more storytelling. No more hoping. Let every ache in your chest become a rep. Every sleepless night, a chapter in the book you'll one day live, not write. Don't tell people who you are. Show them nothing and let them feel everything. If you've ever turned heartbreak into habit and pain into personal power, comment below, "I burned silently and rebuilt without witnesses." Number 6. When regret echoes through the silence you created. At first, it's just silence. Days pass. No contact, no accidental run-ins, no late-night texts filled with false clarity. You're gone, and she feels it. Not immediately. Regret doesn't knock at the door like guilt. It seeps in like fog. Soft, creeping, inescapable. She checks your story, half expecting to see something familiar. A song, a quote, a photo. Something to prove you're still circling her orbit. But it's quiet. And that quiet. It gets louder with every day you don't return. You see, your absence didn't startle her. What startled her was the fact that you didn't use it to win her back. That you didn't weaponize it. You simply moved on. And in doing so, you triggered something deeper than loss. You triggered self-reflection. Carl Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But when you disappear genuinely, completely, you leave her. No distractions. Just space. And in that space, her story about you begins to unravel. You're no longer the man who cared too much. You're the man who doesn't need her anymore. And that stings. Not because you were cruel, but because your calm presence, now gone, reveals the emotional gap she once dismissed. She starts to notice what's missing. The texts, the grounding, the way you used to notice things no one else did. And it hits her. She didn't just lose a man. She lost a mirror. One that reflected her worth without condition. But here's the stoic truth. Her regret is not your reward. Marcus Aurelius reminds us. Don't waste time thinking about what a good man should be. Just be one. Her realization, longing, and even her apology are not the goal. You're not waiting for her to get it. You're not moving in circles, hoping to hear she was wrong. You've already moved forward. The action is restraint. When? Not if she reaches out. Don't confuse her curiosity with commitment. Don't read too much into the breadcrumb trail of nostalgia. Let her feel the absence fully. Let her sit in the seat of the choices she made, not to punish, but to protect the version of you that now walks clearly. Psychologically, your indifference becomes the lesson. It tells her that love doesn't always wait. Some men don't spin in emotional loops. Some rise quietly and never circle back. If you've ever let someone feel your absence without needing them to notice, say this now. I didn't need her regret. I needed my return. Number 7. When growth becomes so silent, it's loud. You don't announce your return. There's no "I'm back" post, no transformation montage. These are just small decisions that no one sees, but you feel every early morning you didn't skip, every meal you didn't eat, every time you choose discipline over distraction. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you should be before heartbreak cracks you open. There's no soundtrack to this phase, no spotlight, no finish line, just the rhythm of quiet improvement. While the world scrolls and posts and reacts, you're building, brick by brick, alone on purpose. This is the rise they don't expect. Not dramatic, not fueled by revenge, just precise. Focused Stoic Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's what you're doing now. You don't talk about how much you've changed. You let your energy make the announcement. You let your absence linger like perfume on skin. She didn't know she missed until it was gone. You've stopped looking back. Not because you hate her, but because she's no longer in the frame of your future. The same silence that once haunted you has now become your sanctuary. The same pain that once drowned you is now the weight that built your frame. Psychologically, this is what they call identity integration. You've stopped chasing closure. You've stopped seeking understanding. You've embodied a deep truth that no outside affirmation can touch. You are enough, even when no one's watching. And ironically, this is when they feel you most. She hears your name in passing, sees a mutual friend repost your work, scrolls past something that reminds her of you, and for a second the world slows. He's different now, she thinks. But she doesn't reach out, not out of pride, but because she senses it. She's no longer a part of your path. And you're not waiting at the gate anymore. You built a different home, one she no longer has the key to. The action now is a continuation, not acceleration, not an explosion, just consistency. Keep showing up. Keep moving in silence. Let your value become gravity, pulling in only what aligns and repelling what no longer belongs. If you've ever chosen the quiet path to strength, say it now. I built in silence and became undeniable. Number 8. When you no longer react, you rule. She tries a subtle message, a story, post with old meaning, a song that used to be yours, not to return, but to stir to see if the fire's still warm, if the man she once controlled emotionally is still waiting by the door. But this time, he's not there, because you've reached a level she never thought you'd climb, emotional sovereignty. The place where her chaos no longer pulls strings, where you don't flinch when her name lights up your phone, where your emotions are no longer her playground. The Stoics called this the final discipline, not power over the world, but power over your response to it. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And freedom begins here when you feel the impulse rise and don't act on it. When her games don't trigger performance. When her voice doesn't echo through your nervous system anymore. This is the return of control, not just over your emotions, but over your attention, time, and peace. She doesn't get to disturb your inner world anymore because she's no longer inside it. Not because you forced her out, but because you outgrew the version of yourself who kept letting her back in. And now you live differently, intentionally. You don't open the door when she knocks through nostalgia. You don't crack under pressure when memories hit. You don't run stories in your head about what it could have been. You've replaced fantasy with focus, emotion with execution. You've become immune to the old gravity that once pulled you back into the storm. Psychologically, this is the phase where most men relapse, but not you. Because you no longer need closure, you have clarity, and clarity doesn't beg, it doesn't negotiate, it simply knows your action is radical. Self-respect don't answer, not coldly, not out of spite, just don't let silence do what words never could preserve your peace. You owe her nothing except the dignity you now give yourself. And that silence, it hits different. Not because it hurts her, but because it shows her you're no longer someone she can summon. If you've ever held your ground when the past tried to tempt you, write this now: her games stopped working because I stopped playing. Number 9. When you become the center and she feels the shift. Something subtle happens when a man stops orbiting around someone else. The world doesn't clap. There's no sudden applause. But internally, the gravity changes, your focus sharpens, your energy shifts, and without saying a word, people, especially her, feel it. She used to be the center, the one you measured your days around. Her mood was your weather. Her attention was your fuel. But now you've become the sun in your own sky. And she's left wondering, what changed? What changed is this: you stopped chasing meaning in someone else. You stopped making her approval, the thermostat for your self-worth. You stopped hoping that one more chance, one more effort, one more text might bring back something real. And when that happens, something deep rewires inside you. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And your thoughts now, they're grounded in purpose, not persuasion. In movement, not memory. You walk like a man, no longer asking to be loved, but a man who already loves who he's becoming. And that's when you become dangerous in the most sacred way. Because you're no longer trying to impress her. You're no longer doing things with the subtle hope she'll see, she'll notice, she'll return. You're doing it because this version of you has nothing to prove and everything to protect. Psychologically, your detachment becomes attractive. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're no longer playing at all. You've exited the emotional economy she once controlled. You no longer react, you create. And that shift makes her feel something she didn't expect. Curiosity, and maybe even regret. But the part that matters is that you don't need her to feel anything. Your life no longer hinges on whether she sees your glow up. You don't post for her, speak for her, or live for her. You've stepped into sovereignty, into a gravity that no longer pulls you. Pull it. Not by force, but by being whole. The action is this: build your day around your values, not around who's watching. Let your time, your focus, your body, your thoughts revolve around something deeper than attention, your inner code. The world will feel it, and so will she, if you've ever stopped orbiting and chose to become the gravity. Say it now: I became the center. And that's when she felt the shift. Number 10. When pain becomes the gift you never saw coming. You look back, not with longing, but with clarity. And for the first time, you feel something unexpected gratitude, not for the betrayal, not for the cold silence, but for the pain itself. Because without it, you'd still be asleep, still handing out your worth for scraps of attention, still mistaking chaos for passion and validation for love. Now you walk differently, you speak differently, you wake up with purpose, not confusion. Because the version of you that once begged for closure is gone, burned away in the fire. She helped light, but never stayed to put out. And here's the irony. Her leaving didn't ruin you. It refined you. The Stoics never feared pain. They embraced it as the forge. Epictetus said, "Difficulties are what show men what they are." And that difficulty, that heartbreak, it didn't break you, it revealed you. It uncovered the man who doesn't need applause to feel complete. The man who walks alone with a spine straight and a heart still open, but no longer vulnerable to people who don't value it. You stopped resenting what happened, because resentment is still a kind of attachment. You let it all go, not to move on, but to rise beyond. You see now that the silence you received was a mirror, a gift, a line in the sand that forced you to choose, collapse, or become, and you chose well. You stopped needing revenge. You stopped wishing she'd regret it. You stopped playing out fantasy versions of the past where things went differently. Because the past wasn't a mistake, it was a message, and that message was this: your worth is not negotiable. Now you live in alignment. Your values drive your choices. Your emotions no longer control your actions. You respond, not react. And from this posture, you become truly free, not just from her, but from the version of you that once clung to her like she was the answer. The action now is integration. You take the lessons, you take the pain, and you turn it into a code of living that no woman loss or rejection can ever shake again. You don't need her back. You don't need closure. You've already been blessed. If you've ever turned heartbreak into a higher self, speak it loud now. Her leaving was never my ending. It was my awakening. You could have chased her. You could have begged. You could have tried to fill that silence with explanations. But instead, you let her sit with it, with the echo of her own decisions. And in that space, something shifted, not in her, but in you. You stopped running after someone who turned their back. You started walking toward the man you were meant to become. She may never admit it, but she felt the shift. She felt the loss. Not because you fought for her, but because you chose not to fight yourself. You didn't create the void, you revealed it. If you're choosing peace over pursuit like this, video subscribe and comment. I no longer run, I rise. Be still, be sure, and let her learn in silence what she took for granted in noise.